Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. First and foremost, proud to be joined by a colleague, Senator Cory Booker, who happens to be in town, but has been an important ally in the Senate as we fight for continued resources for California to rebuild from the fires in January. I want to thank the Army Corps of Engineers, FEMA, all the departments and agencies that have been leaning into the effort since January. Bottom line here is we know the fires were unprecedented. The immediate response was unprecedented. And we will rebuild, but the recovery itself is going to be unprecedented, not just because of the intensity of the fires that we all learned in January, but the sheer scale of devastation, the number of families impacted, the number of structures lost, both homes and businesses, and of course the underlying infrastructure that federal, state, and local governments are working together to rebuild so that the communities do rebuild. But thus far, because of the leadership of Bob Fenton at FEMA and so many others, we seem to be ahead of the initial anticipated schedules for things like debris removal, all the necessary first layer of cleanup that is necessary for the individuals, the families, and communities to rebuild. So we're here to get a status report. So far, it's a good one. Ask questions, but all with the goal of getting back to Washington next week with as much information and update as possible to continue to advocate in Congress for the continued resources required for the recovery and rebuilding. We didn't get a disaster supplemental last week in the continuing resolution that was passed, but we'll have more bites at the apple in the months ahead. And so the more of my colleagues that come out and see firsthand what the reality is on the ground, the better we'll be positioned to ensure that the aid continues to come and without strings attached, without unnecessary conditions. So, Senator Booker?
I'm honored to be here right now and really grateful for my friendship with Senator Alex Padilla, who is an extraordinary leader in the Senate, and he stands for California, and he doesn't stand for alone, because this is a disaster for this community, for this region, for the state, but it is a national disaster and deserves a national response. And so I'm here to support Alex and his extraordinary leadership, as well as Senator Schiff. I am feeling humbled and grateful for the extraordinary leadership I'm seeing within this local community. The pride reminds me of the pride in my communities in New Jersey, and I stand in deep gratitude to FEMA, deep gratitude to the Army Corps, deep gratitude to the state and local and county officials that are showing what we can do together when we don't divide ourselves, but when we stand together. And the last thing I'll say that's really important to me is I'm a son of an Angelino. My mom is a graduate of Manual Arts High School, so I feel a very personal dedication to this region. My grandparents here, I'm a young man that would come to Los Angeles all the time to visit with my family here, coming from a strong black community in Los Angeles. And so I feel even additional conviction to make sure people understand that they're not alone in this. They're not isolated, they're not forgotten. And this recovery is going to take a long time. They're moving a lot quicker than I think, and the people should be proud of that, but it's still a long recovery, and we're going to continue to make sure that the federal response is there.
The last thing we'll mention before we continue, and then we'll remind everybody at the end, just we were successful in extending the deadline for people to begin to apply for assistance to March 31st, but now that new deadline is coming up. So for businesses and families, disasterassistance.gov. Let's get the process going.
Comentarios en español, senador, para Univisión, por favor.
Brevemente, sí, bueno, gracias por acompañarnos. Me da mucho gusto que mi colega de Nueva Jersey, senador Cory Booker, está conmigo hoy viendo el estatus de la limpieza que está ocurriendo aquí después del incendio en Eaton, igual que en Pacific Palisades. Los incendios de niveles históricos que vimos en enero, la respuesta a los desastres también ha sido histórica. La reconstrucción va a ser histórica, solo porque el gobierno federal, estatal y local están trabajando tan bien juntos para crear las condiciones para poder reconstruir sus hogares, para los empresarios poder reconstruir, reabrir sus negocios en estas áreas. Hay mucho más trabajo que hacer, pero al nivel que está ocurriendo, el progreso se ve muy bien. Y un recordatorio para las familias impactadas, si no lo han hecho, pueden comenzar a aplicar para asistencia. El día 31 de marzo es la fecha límite. Pueden ir en línea en disasterassistance.gov.